Hey guys, this is Carl. This is my second edition of the Beach Buggy build for my 2003 Volkswagen Beetle convertible. I'm going to start the build with a lift today. I got the information off of a great Facebook forum. It's water-cooled lifted European cars, which essentially is mostly Mark IV VW platforms. And there's a lot of guys doing some really cool stuff with there. There's one in particular, his name is Ben Weber. He has outlined a complete list of parts that are required for this lift, which was really great. Everything was in one place. Let me show you my goodies, so to speak. So, once again, these are all kind of enumerated on his list. These are XJ front Jeep coil springs. These are the standard off-the-shelf shocks, struts for the 2003 Volkswagen Beetle. You don't necessarily have to replace these, but you have everything apart. You're doing these coilovers, so you might as well replace the struts. I mean, for a pair of them, I don't remember exactly what they were, but for everything that you see here was well under 300 bucks. Also, when you're replacing these things, you want to put the new, I guess they're called dampeners or rubber hats, and they come with bearings too that are really important when you replace this stuff. Actually, I put that in the wrong place. That goes in there. And then, believe it or not, part of the recipe is these Gabriel Pro Guard shocks. Now they are, I believe, rear shocks that are suitable for a 1995 Ford F-150 pickup truck. How about that? And they're going to be in the back of this little Volkswagen Beetle. It gives the advantage over the stock struts is there's a whole lot. Excuse me, the stock shocks is there's a whole lot more travel. And the idea is to get 3.5–4 inches of lift. So there's the part number. And then this is pretty cool. These were takeoffs from a JKU Jeep. I believe that is from Wagoneer, but you guys can probably correct me. There is a Jeep shop in Largo, Florida called Jeepster. And these guys were so kind of amused at the fact that I'm going to put a 4-inch lift with Jeep springs on this little car that they actually donated these to the project. And the provision was that I come drive by and show them the finished product once it's lifted. But, that saved me about 60 bucks, which is really cool. Those guys said that they have never seen a Jeep coil spring squash out, even after doing repetitive jumps and stuff like that. These guys look, they're takeoffs, but these are like virtually brand new. And once again, Ben Weber over at that Facebook page, he has everything listed out. I'll try to figure out a way during my editing to maybe post a list of the parts, but it was cool. I was just able to go get most of this stuff at Rock Auto for like the best prices, because I did price out at different places on Amazon and such. And also and then of course this donation of these springs, and then trying to get prepared so I can make this kind of a seamless quick job. And just got the standard stuff: an electric impact driver, a little battery powered impact driver, at least for getting stuff started, breaker bar. These are all standard 1/2-inch drive tools. Yeah, I know I'm going to get shamed for having some impact mixed with non-impact, but honestly, the impact that I'm going to be doing is kind of minimal. Here's a cool little tool. This is the Strut spreader that cost about, I think it cost about $9. I think it was $11 with tax. This goes into the slot down at the pinch joint for where these struts slide in up front. If you don't have these, a lot of people are beating the hell out of that that lower control arm. This makes it so you don't have to do that. You turn this a quarter turn and it opens that joint, these things just slip out. You put the new ones in without beating the hell out of it, and then you take this tool out. So that's pretty cool. It was worth the investment. It got to me in a couple days. So if you're preparing to do this job, you know, it's worthwhile. Also, and this is pretty cool, a little tip that most of you kind of gearheads probably already know, but not doing this every day, I did not know. And that is these like places that you, this particular tool was purchased, quote unquote, at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Brand spanking new, coil spring compression tool. They have a very cool program. You buy the part. It was 54 bucks and change. You bring it back. You're supposed to bring it back within 48 hours. The guys at the store said, you know, bring it back in a week, and it's cool. And they credit you a full refund, including your taxes. So it doesn't get much better than that. So those guys at O'Reilly do it. I'm sure all the other auto parts stores may do it. The cool thing about those guys was I didn't buy any of these parts from them, and they didn't blink an eye at the prospect of lending it to me. And honestly, you know, I buy light bulbs and, you know, little gimmicks there, but I haven't done any big purchases, and they were just very cool about it. So anyway, I'm going to be getting started on the build, and hopefully I will be able to splice this thing together a little bit better than I did on my Edition 1. So I will be getting into it too. Oh, by the way, it's 56 degrees here in sunny Florida. I've been here going on 2 years, and I'm like, what the hell? It's supposed to be Florida, but guess what? It gets below 60 in Florida as well. So, all right, back at you soon. Okay, so one of the first things I have to do is to remove this kind of cowling cover here. The way to do this is to remove the wiper arms, and I believe there's a fastener or two in there, and I will let you know momentarily. Yeah. Just a flat blade screwdriver, 13 millimeter. Yes, how do we get down in there? Get into it the old-fashioned way. By the way, PP Blaster is also on the tool list. Yowza! There's one. Don't want to let go. I'm hoping this is the hardest part of the job right here. I guess I loosened it up because it came right off. That almost looked like I knew what I was doing. What do we got under here? Just slides underneath this rubber lip, apparently. And then unclips. Pretty cool. Really no fasteners. Just friction and the wiper arms themselves kind of holding it in place. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like working in dirt and leaves and shit like that, so I'm going to vacuum this out. It's not a necessary step, but it's my step. So about a week ago, I sprayed these, I think some of the guys are calling them hi-hats. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but these retaining caps. I was able to get in there and squirt them with PB Blaster about a week ago in preparation for this job. I also did that with the with everything I could spray underneath the front, the strut mounts and the back shock mounts. So hopefully it will pay. So one of the things that I have seen some of the guys do on YouTube when they're doing a version of this conversion, or even just repairing or replacing the stock struts, is they will loosen these top mounts first, and it always seems to kind of get them in trouble, especially if they release a lot of the tension on it. Just noticing this strut mount is a big gap here, so I guess that everything's pretty much squashed out underneath there, so it's probably time to replace these struts anyway. So I'm going to wait and do the bottom end first, and then hopefully be able to remove these top mounts and just have it drop out. Okay, I've got the car jacked up. Of course, I'm paying attention to the safety sort of standard guidelines. I've got the jack stand under the frame rail. I even keep the hydraulic jack kind of there. I have wheel chocks on the front and the back. This wheel lifted up and away from this chock. I don't want to shove it in there because when I jack it back down, it's gonna lock underneath that chock. So if the car were to drop, it wouldn't go. It would just go to its normal resting position. Anyway, here's what we got to do. We're going to be removing this whole strut, popping out these wires out of these brackets here. There's no other, this is the ABS, but there's no other ABS wires. Some of them have like a bracket, some sort of a bracket mounted here. This sway arm link is going to be removed, so this whole thing drops down. I'm hoping to do this without pulling the caliper or the brake rotor. I've seen some guys do it and some not be able to do it. I've heard that worst case scenario, you have to pull these three 13 millimeter nuts to kind of let this lower control arm drop down just a couple inches more, which gets you that clearance to pull out this strut. All right, I'm gonna get on to this now. Kind of see where it has wicked up on the side of the strut from last week's application. One of those things you really can't have too much of. I think that's all I need to worry about right now for PB. So this is, I believe, an 18 millimeter. That I believe is also an 18 millimeter. I will tell you for sure. So as I said, the first thing I'm going to do is remove these little ABS sensor wires. I have seen guys that rip them off the car, and that's another step they have to do. They gotta even pull off the sensor altogether with a pick. Use the handy dandy pick. Sorry guys, I'm not cutting away for every single thing that I'm doing. All right, so let's see what the 18 looks like on here. Nope. It is an 18. That wasn't a 21. Okay, so 18-inch, 18 millimeter. Let's see if this little impact has the ability. Okie doke. 18 millimeter on the breaker bar. With the box end on the other. There we go. Need a little persuasion. Yay. Easy peasy.
guessing the flange on that strut kind of intrudes on the hole a little bit and almost acts like a thread that you got to thread it out. So rather than beat the crap out of the nut, best to kind of just gently persuade it. Okay, so this gap back here is where this little gizmo will go. The strut spreading tool, man, it fits right in there, man. It's almost like they made it just for that. How about it? It just goes, you just do it like a quarter turn in either direction. And you leave it in there. Boom. Man, that really adds a lot of value because you're not beating the crap out of this thing to get it down. So let's see, is it the same size socket for this little sway bar? Nope. This one is 16 millimeter. I guess start with a ratchet first. You know what I think I'm supposed to do? I'm glad I remembered it, is take this jack so I can gently drop this sucker down and not slam it. Makes sense. Who knows, I might edit this out just so it looks like I know what I'm doing. Okay. I'll leave it a little bit loose so it does drop it at least a bit. Just take stress off the sway legs. Wing. Okay, so there was some stress on that. It is now on the jack. I'm going to gently drop the jack down and see if this thing just pulls out with its own weight. Look at that, man. That little spreading tool is just awesome. Oh, look at that, man. That is just awesome. Okay, so this is the challenge that people are running into, is the axle runs into this control arm. And I'm going to have to figure out if I can get around that or not. So I'll get this here, see if I can get some decent footage here or not. It needs to come out a pretty fair amount too. exactly sure how I'm going to remedy that. One guy actually pulls the Allen screws out of the axle, where the axle connects to the transmission. I'm wondering if I can compress these springs up, or maybe even drop. Now maybe I'm going to drop that top strut and see if I can lift the shock up. Maybe compress these springs. I do have a spring compressor. So I was able to actually loosen this, or actually remove this top nut off of the strut. Now they make a special tool that goes around this 21mm nut. It's a big elongated socket, and you're supposed to be able to get an Allen wrench in there to hold the strut from spinning while you remove this nut. A lot of guys are lucky; they just put a impact on it. Now I did something that, since these struts are getting trashed, I felt comfortable doing. But if you're ever going to be doing work on a new strut or replacing the strut, don't ever do this. But to get this sucker off, I just put a vice grip on the rod, clamped it down, keeps it from spinning. These guys are getting chucked, so I don't feel too guilty about doing something like that. I guess that you could call that a top tip from Carl. Okay, so here's a tip that I highly do not recommend anybody do, but in order to get these these spring compressors to work up in that strut, in that strut tower without crashing into the upper wheel well, I had to make these PVC spacers to take up the distance between here and here, so they would start compressing. Otherwise, all of this would have been up there, which would have crashed into up there. So please don't do this at home. I am a untrained, unprofessional, and it worked for me. That's all I'm saying. But even with that, in order to get the additional distance from here to here to pull the damn thing out, I did have to remove the three 13mm ball joint, that plate that pulls out from the, and it gave me a little bit of distance to play with this this whole hub assembly. The one thing it did is it's pretty much given me about the most stress I want on this brake line. In fact, I'm going to try to turn it. Well, I'm just going to leave it alone. But anyway, so it's a lot of stress on the brake line. It's not completely crazy taut, but it's probably tauter than it should be. Anyway, I'm going to see about getting the components out of the top of this, the new spring on the new strut, and back up into this shock tower. Let's see if it actually works. So there are a few components that need to come off of these guys and put onto these guys, and it's everything below this bearing. I'm going to be putting new bearings. Boy, this bearing is shot too. I'm going to be putting a new bearing in. But anyway, I thought it was probably wise to measure the distance that this first kind of captivating nut is on, in order to keep this geometry that is inside the inside the top of the strut mount. I want to make sure that that geometry is the same as the stock geometry, and then everything down here is where it kind of turns to uncharted territories. So I will work on getting these apart and spare you the minutia. All right, so I've got this first time bomb assembled. I mean, it looks like it gives me about 1.5 inches of travel on a good day. If it binds up too badly, I guess I can cut down a coil. But this was the prescribed procedure.
I got the new bearing on here. This is the nut, this spacer here, and this top bracket is from the old Strut. This is a new bumper that sits up inside the wheel well in the strut tower. So let's see if we can get this sucker in there. Okay guys, it was a bear, but I got the first corner done. Some crazy lift there. Everything went back together a lot easier than it came apart. Not much range between the each coil. We'll see what happens. I can always take it back apart and cut down a coil. As much as I resisted, I actually made myself the special top strut tower tool by grinding out a deep well socket, a 21 millimeter deep well socket. I guess it was for a 21 millimeter spark plug. It allowed me to get down onto this nut here and then hold this top portion with a tiny open end wrench. So I mean, it did the job. It's not really well engineered. It you know, you're not really able to get a nice hard torque on it with that arrangement, but I think it's as tight as the factory was. So anyway, now I have the other 3 corners to do, but this is some crazy I mean, of course I just put it down on the jack, and I'm not even going to drive it around with just one side lifted. So tomorrow I'll get on this other side. This took me a good 4 hours just for that one corner, which I'm kind of disappointed with. Some of it may have to do with the fact that I was playing around with the GoPro, but anyway, so 1 down, 3 to go. This is the carnage that is left from my morning afternoon work. This is the old Strut. I actually, in order to try to take it apart, I actually had to grind these kind of splines in here in order to get a channel lock not a channel lock, but a vice grip to actually hold, so I could get that inner lock nut off. The one I showed you on the car is right here, but there's an inner one that holds the interior kind of hi-hat in there. Anyway, since this is all getting scrapped, I felt comfortable grinding the crap out of it. My next step was to weld something onto it so it would sit still and I could get that nut. And then after that, I guess I'd have to scrap the job and order the nut. I think it's a 21 millimeter nut metric. So anyway, that's it for today. I will hopefully splice this all together with the entire series. Talk at you later.